Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to episode 87 of the Prosperous Yogini Podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, my hair is extra crazy today. I've literally just done the school run and it is, well, raining, but more accurately, it is called mizzle, Cornish rain, which is this really fine, mizzly, misty rain, and we call it mizzle. Anyway, that is not what I'm here to talk about today. I've wanted to do this episode actually for a while now. In January, start of January, I ran the Profitable Yoga Business Roadmap Masterclass and coaching call. And what was really good about this masterclass was, yes, I delivered a session on how you can create a profitable yoga business, but I also included a coaching call, which allowed yoga teachers to ask me a question. And some of those teachers are a real diverse range of teachers, from teachers that have been teaching for over 10 years, teachers that have been teaching for around about 5 or 6 years. And then there was a group of teachers who had literally just passed their training. And this episode is for you guys today. Although I want to say, however long you've been teaching, whether you've been teaching full time in your yoga business, whether it's 1 or 2 classes, I know the questions that these teachers asked and the advice I'm going to give today will be relevant to you. But I think in particular, when we do anything new, so you've trained to be a yoga teacher, you've passed your yoga teacher training course, and you step out into the world and say, right, I'm going to teach yoga. That's a big thing, right? Or you are a yoga teacher, an experienced yoga teacher, you've been teaching weekly classes, and you decide you're going to add in retreats, and you run your first retreat. That's a big thing. Or you are a yoga teacher, you've been teaching for a while now, perhaps you're an established yoga teacher, been teaching for 8-10 years, and you feel like it's time to share your experience, your training, your subject knowledge with the world and run a training course. That is a big thing. I can remember the first time I ran my foundation teacher training course. I think the lead up to that training course, I possibly didn't sleep. Combination of just like, oh my God, what have I committed to? The sense of responsibility in terms of like people investing time and money and trusting me to train them to be a yoga teacher. And then the preparation, I do remember, it was going back a few years ago now. So now my manuals, are either an e-manual found online on my Teachable platform, or I get them professionally printed. But back in the day when I first started my foundation teacher training course, I printed my manual. I bought these beautiful large A4 folders, and I vividly remember like 4 a.m. hole punching and printing stuff. Anyway, listen, this is why new experiences, the first time we do stuff, we have to allow there to be a little bit of, and I say this with much love, and I have been here and still go here many times, rabbit in a headlight type of feeling where, oh my God, I've said I'm going to do this. I have this desire, and that's really important. I'm going to underline the word desire. I'm being called to do this. And I thought, I'll just go out and teach a yoga class. Well, I mean, what? How easy can that be, right? And then all of a sudden, I've got to think of all this stuff, and there's that feeling of being that rabbits in a headlight. And I don't know whether, I think the nervous system, I think it's always going to have that response to anything new, and I think we need to allow it. I think we need to give ourselves, here's another word for today as well, with desire, give ourselves the grace to be a beginner, to be new at something, even if the grace of being new to running a foundation teacher training course. I mean, that's massive, but knowing just because I'm new to it, just because it's the first one I've run, that it's not that it's going to be bad. There will be some learning curves. And my first foundation teacher training course, just to let you know, was a real success. Not only that, I ran it in 2020, and we all know what happened in 2020, and it was an in-person course, 12 months. We started in January of 2020, and what's the word? Pivot. We did an in-person course for 3 months, then we did it online for 2, then we did it hybrid style for the rest. Finished in December 2020, and many of those teachers, I'm proud to say, that trained with me in 2020 are teaching. Some of them are full-time in their yoga business. Imagine if I had not said yes to that calling. And it's the same for you. If you are getting this calling to train to be a yoga teacher, to start running yoga classes, if you're running yoga classes, you're getting callings to do workshops, trainings, retreats, an online offering. Listen to that calling, listen to the hollering of the heart. Okay, be guided by that, but know that the brain, your beautiful brain, your nervous system is going to go, that's it. Are you sure? Are you sure? So let's have a look. And these questions, I'm just going to shut up now. No, these questions that came through from these teachers, like they capture so beautifully that energy of, oh my God, what's next? What should I do first? Where should I turn? So let's go to some of these questions. So the first question, I love this one. Shall I keep investing in courses, toddler, pre and postnatal yoga, for example, or stick to the type of yoga I'm comfortable teaching, vinyasa, nidra, and yin? Now, this is so common, and actually common across all experience levels of yoga teachers. We get stuck in what I call training procrastination. I just need to do this training course. I'll be ready when. And, you know, I offer training courses, and I would absolutely love you to train with me. I think the ongoing study is an essential part of being a yoga teacher. But what we get ourselves stuck in is like a hamster wheel of another training course, another training course. I'm going to start teaching when I've done that training course. I'm going to start doing this when I've done that training course. I'm going to charge this much when I've done this training course. And the best thing you can do, right, if you are relatively new to teaching, is start teaching, because you've got to go out and cut your craft. There's a whole podcast episode on this. How do I get better at teaching? Teach. Go out and cut your craft. And when you're not sure, like, you know, we get a lot of advice of like niche down, get clear on your messaging, call out your tribe. I know I say this to you guys, but sometimes you're like, I don't know. And how do I get to know? I get to know by going out and teaching. So vinyasa, yin, and nidra, the things I feel comfortable with. Everyone that I work with, coach, mentor, they answer their own questions. Absolutely go out and teach what you are comfortable with. And then if you have a strong calling to support bumps, mums, and little ones, then absolutely train in pre and postnatal yoga. But if it's like, I feel like I should do more training, then that's not the right energy driving it. Also, we give ourselves too much to do when we start out. If we're trying to fill a pregnancy yoga class, a postnatal yoga class, vinyasa, yin and nidra workshops, the best thing you can do is you've already, minute you pass your foundation teach training course, you already have everything you need to step out tomorrow, teach yoga, teach the yoga that you feel comfortable teaching, because that will draw in the people that like that type of yoga. Okay, teach the yoga that you feel comfortable teaching. Often that is, we are sharing from the place of our practice, and get the systems and the practice in place of going out and teaching a class, charging for that, bringing in the money, marketing, telling people about that, and then expand from there. We often feel that sense of overwhelm, that sense of rabbits in a headlight, when we try to give ourselves too much. And as much as I would love you to come into one of my training courses, this is the thing, I think, that with my mentorship program, I would just love more of you, to be honest, to kind of, I say, wake up with much love, wake up to the idea that actually the best thing you can do in terms of investing in your yoga business after training, right, is my mentorship program. Because after you've been through that for 6 months, you will be able to create and do anything you want in terms of within your yoga business and beyond. You will know exactly what it is you are being called to do, and rather than going, oh, I think I should do this training course. So absolutely, I think I try and do one bit of training a year. It's not always yoga specific. We do have to balance the costs of our business versus the profits as well. And honestly, the best thing you can do is get out and teach and not get stuck in training procrastination. The next question is it worth to jump in the deep water and open a small studio, or see how things develop? Is it too risky for a newly qualified teacher? And I'm going to just say it depends, right, on you and your experience. And I think we must, this is a very common thing. I'm guilty of this too. We go, oh, I'm a yoga teacher. Oh, I'm a newly qualified yoga teacher. I've been teaching yoga for 3 years. I've been teaching yoga for 4 years. I'm ready for this. And we completely forget everything we did before that. Everything, what I like to say, everything you're bringing to the party. Like, so when I turn up to teach, when I turn up to train, when I turn up to mentorship, mentor and coach my students, like, listen, I am bringing, yes, 14 years experience of being a yoga teacher and running a business, but I'm also bringing my 24 years of experience of working in education as a secondary school teacher, as a head of department, as a head of faculty, as someone who ran a music PGCE course and trained secondary school teachers, working in adult education. I'm bringing just all of this to the party. I'm bringing my experience as a surfer, my experience as a mother. You know, we are the sum total of all our experiences. And when people come into our classes, into our workshop, into our energy field, they're coming into these experiences. So if you have some experience of retail, if you have some experience of managing the cost of a physical property, if you in terms of like a commercial property, if you have experience of booking systems and building communities and marketing, then you can bring all of this to accelerate the success rate of your yoga studio. If you are a newly qualified yoga teacher and you haven't got those experiences behind you, the question is, do you want to, on top of like cutting your craft as a yoga teacher, do you want to put pressure on yourself to do all of this? Because the minute you sign on the dotted line on a studio, like, the pros are, we have this beautiful space that we're in control of, that we can also build kit in, it all lives there. And we have this space from which we can create our business from. And I get that pull. The con is we have a physical set rent to cover every month. And have I built in the business foundations in order to ensure that I can make that rent and then make some money, so I'm not just working for free? And I say this because my first studio, I worked 18 months for free. But I'm glad I did it, because I learned so much from it. And sometimes a kind of opportunity comes along and you're like, it's a no-brainer. So I don't want to say yes, I don't want to say no, but I want you, I need to do a dedicated episode on studio ownership. It'll probably even be a series. It's worth listening back to last week's episode. Vinny owns a yoga studio. He talks a little bit about that. We talk about that. There's another episode with Claire, who's based in Switzerland, who has a studio. Studio ownership, like, it is worth it. There's a reason why people do it, but it does come with a commitment to this monthly rental and a commitment to knowing your numbers, knowing the facts and figures, and knowing how you're going to generate income to cover that monthly rent and make yourself some profit. And are you ready to do that? And that's the question you need to answer. Okay, I'm going to last one from this lovely teacher here. Oh yeah, I love this. Breath work, is it worth the investment? Okay, we see a lot at the moment, don't we, of breathwork coaches, breathwork teachers. Like, even I see a lot of business coaches bringing in breathwork into their business, and I think this is wonderful, right? I think, yeah, breathwork, the breath is tangibly one of the most powerful ways we can instantly hack into the nervous system and offer someone a sense of reset, calm, and balance. Well, that is so powerful. So I am really pleased to see all these other practitioners, other modalities bringing breath work into their business, right? Yoga teachers have been doing breath work since the dawn of time, right? Like, all the breath work that you do in your foundation teacher training course, right, is what these breathwork coaches are teaching. In fact, you probably know more. We study as yoga teachers pranayama practices, the impact of how prana flows in the body, the impact of these pranayama practices. Like, yoga teachers, you do not need to do additional breath work. Okay, you know it as part of your training, right? You just will see a lot of breath work around at the moment because I want to say it's a trend. I don't want to use any of that, and I don't want to criticize non-yoga teachers that are bringing breath work into their business, because I'm really pleased to see all this stuff, but I just want yoga teachers to know that this is the stuff that we've been doing for years and years and years. Okay. Oh, right then. So let's go to another question. So if you're looking on YouTube and you're like, she's not staring at the screen. Okay, I've got my Google Forms up that I'm looking at. Okay, so how would you navigate unpaid opportunities when starting out? Take them or not? I think this is a great question. And I think when we first start teaching, maybe there are some studios, some people out there who are purposely looking for newly qualified teachers to give them, I'm going to say in inverted commas, opportunity to teach under the certain name, under a certain studio, and they're not paying these teachers, they're giving them experience. I genuinely think that none of us should be working for free. I think the only time when it may be, it's about reciprocity. So if you're going to give your time, your energy, and your experience, and yes, you might be a newly qualified teacher, but how long have you been practicing yoga for? How many hours? How much money have you invested in your training? Why are you now choosing to work for free? Okay. So, however, sometimes it can work really well if there's a teacher, perhaps the teacher you've trained with, or a teacher you really like to practice with, and there's a sense of you go and assist them for free, but the reciprocity is you're in their classes, you're seeing their teaching, you're soaking in all their years of experience, you're having the practice of touching and adjusting. Maybe there's the odd opportunity to cover for this teacher. And that can work, but I do think, like, personally, I wouldn't work for free. What can happen, and that actually can be useful for many teachers, is you choose to go and work in a gym type environment, and pay, generally speaking, is much lower per hour than what you could earn if you were renting private classes. But it does allow you to get paid some money, turn up and teach, cut your craft as a teacher without any of the other noise that will get you feeling like rabbits in a headlight. Because I think the one thing we forget is, alongside the learning or the business stuff, is you're probably still spending more time planning and more time thinking about your classes, your students, that sort of like natural anxiety. Notice that word natural, that what if someone comes with this, and what if someone comes and I hurt them? Listen, your students are responsible for their bodies. You are making an invitation to movement. They are choosing whether to do it or not. And I want everyone to remember that. Okay, so last one here on this thing is, any tips on investing in ads on social? Is it something you recommend doing from the start, or do you recommend having a number of followers before spending money on ads? Okay, now there are kind of like, just to simplify Facebook ads, and I'm going to go into Facebook, Instagram ads, not Google ads or anything like that, this conversation. You can boost an ad. So you put a post and then it invites you to boost, and the boost will often go to your followers and their friends, right? That's really, actually, I'm going to say, relatively useful in the early days when you want to spread news about a class, spread news about an event locally, right? Because what that boosting ad does is it does some of the heavy lifting in terms of your organic reach. But generally speaking, boosts are just sending people to an event, to a post. Yes, you're getting the eyes and the prize, but you're not getting anything other than that, in terms of you're not getting their details or their data. The other way we might use Facebook ads, which I do use them like this, and I have done for like the last 18 months, so about 12 years into my business, is to lead generation. And what I mean by that is you collect people's emails. We're not collecting people's emails, we're collecting human beings into our world that we build a connection with. But it looks a bit like, here's a freebie, you'll see it, you'll scroll through social media, you're going to notice all of them now. Fine, sign up for this, you sign up for that, they get the free thing, you get their email, they're on your email list, and you nurture them. Now, you can do that from day one if you really wanted to accelerate the growth on your email list. But I'm going to go back to profits versus expenditure. Have you got the money for Facebook ads? Generally speaking, they're saying if you want to do the lead generation ads, so at a minimum spend of £5 a day. Generally speaking, the people I work with, particularly when we're starting out, it's just not needed. Do not invest money in Facebook ads. Plus, you're investing money in ads before you've tested out what works for you on social media, what's your messaging, what graphics, what reels work, what people are responding. There's a lot of testing there. So my advice is organic reach, and see your social media as your yoga practice. You're practicing, learning, testing, refining with the time that you have available to you. Okay, bear in mind that we all want to have a life. We don't want to spend hours on our phone, and we all want to be able to practice yoga as well as teach it. Okay, last few questions here then. I love this one. How do I differentiate myself? Lots of competition around here. I'd like to cover the rent and earn some money and also give some back. So lots to unpack in that question. So when we start out, and if we're in a densely populated area lots of yoga teachers, I know we can look around and think, wow, there's loads of yoga teachers in this area, there isn't room for me. That's a scarcity mindset. Okay, and I know it's really hard to then to reframe that into an abundant mindset, which says, you know what, there is absolutely room for us all. That the fact that there are loads of yoga teachers just shows me that there's lots of people up for yoga, and there's room for me, there's room for my style of yoga. The other challenge we can be when we're newly qualified and there's some established teachers in the area, shall we say, you can often compare yourself against those teachers. You can often be well, I can't charge this and I can't do that because that teacher doesn't. And listen, your students, I'll be really honest, don't really care who you've trained with, don't really care how many people, how many hours you've trained for. So do not say, I'm a newly qualified yoga teacher. Okay, they're just coming because they connect energetically with you and what you're offering. So, I mean, here's an example. There might be a really experienced teacher who's got a really established studio and the real thriving community around that, and you can be like, wow, how am I going to set up a class against this? You're not in competition with this teacher or this studio. There will be a group, there will be people out there that either energetically don't resonate with this teacher, are put off by the studio or the styles of yoga that have been taught in the studio. They would love to go to your class. So you just have to roll out your mat, start teaching, start talking to people, like physically in person, posting on social media, asking friends, family members, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, to tell people about your yoga studios, put up a few local flyers, right? Give it some time, turn up and teach, whether there's 0 people, turn up and teach like this is a full class. Use, if you have got a few super fans, as I call it, use those super fans that turn up every week to help you, right? And it grows over time. And I'm not setting a time limit on that. It grows over time. The last, I'd like to cover rent and earn some money. So absolutely. I mean, like, you need to know your costs. So what is my rent? What are my other costs for being here? Driving, time costs, energetic costs. What's it costing me in terms of my time to deliver this class? Equipment, cleaning, planning. Okay. What does it actually, the exchange need to be for this to be a balanced energy exchange? What do I need to charge? How do I ensure consistent income, AKA not just drop-ins? Remember, if it's 1 class a week, a couple of classes a week, you're not a yoga studio, so a flexible membership type system is just not going to work. It's going to be much better if there's a course, start and end date, getting your students to commit. They miss a week, that is unfortunately their fault. Maybe there's the option to drop in for those that are looking for something a bit more flexible. Drop in is a lot more expensive because we want to drive people to that course thing. I know if you're not operating like that, you're going to be like, oh, I know Amy's right, but it feels a big change. But the minute you make that change, it'll be life changing. I know, because I've seen it time and time and time again. And then about knowing your costs, knowing how you're going to cover your costs. It's the same as a yoga studio. It's like, what's the data say? What are the facts and figures? And be led by that and not by your beautiful brain. And then the last point in that was about how she wanted to give something back. Look, listen, I love that endeavor to create something that has spaciousness, time, abundance, money, that you can use that to follow your passions and what you want to help, right? I love that, right? But so many of us are not structuring our payment structures, our business in a way that is allowing for that abundance and time and money. And the best thing you can do is from day one, have a business model that will allow you space and time, and whatever you want to do with that additional space and time is entirely up to you. Allow you over time to generate a profit. And if you have an overflow of that profit and overflow of funds, it's entirely up to you what you want to do with it. But it all has to come from how you grow your business, how you structure your business, and how you charge. Oh yeah. Okay. How do I cope with this one? How do I cope with different groups of customers? How do you cope with mixed ability? Well, for me, that just is a sort of like calls out to what is a very common thing we'll do when we first start out, or anything new. You'll be like, anyone want to come to this yoga class? Anyone want to buy this thing, right? I literally will take money off anyone and everyone for you to come and do this thing, right? I get it. Okay. I have been there. Okay. And I've been there at, several stages of my business and still fall into this trap, because you're like, I've got this thing. I know it's needed. I really want people to come. I really don't want to lose money, and I really don't want to be working for free, right? I really want this to be successful. So literally I'm like, yoga for everybody and anybody. And the result is you end up with an eclectic mix sometimes of various styles of bodies, experiences, various but different bodies looking for different things, and you actually cannot accommodate to them. Now, we absolutely, as yoga teachers, need to teach in a way that is accessible, and we offer variations. I always say, like, a good teacher gives options. A good teacher builds up the challenge and invites their students to be at the challenge place that's right for them, right? But you cannot cater for everybody. So what is your yoga class like? Is it a gentle yoga class? Is it an Ashtanga yoga class? Is it a Vinyasa flow, strong dynamic class, building heat and flexibility, suitable for fit beginners and beyond? Is it a gentle hatha class working through joint mobility? Do you see, it calls me out what you are and what you do. So be careful that your description, your messaging behind your classes, and I always say a picture speaks 1,000 words. And I'll give you an example of like chair yoga. Picture of someone in a chair, pretty clear. So a picture speaks 1,000 words. So if you are using pictures of you teaching, pictures of your students, or when we first out, we often don't have that. So if it's a stock image, right? Does that stock image, right? Does that stock image represent your classes and the type of person that's going to be coming to this class? So if you're finding that you're having to cater for a vast range of abilities, then it's not suiting for the style of yoga you're teaching, then it is to do with your messaging and calling in your students. One of the best pieces of advice that I'll leave you with today is not to be vanilla. That when we're vanilla, we're kind of like trying to please and cater for everyone. When we're not being vanilla, we will be calling in the people that want to do yoga with us, that are right for us. And then we will be repelling the people that aren't. And when we repel someone, they'll have that teacher's not for me, that style of yoga is not for me, I don't like that person. And none of us want anyone to think that about us. But honestly, if you are repelling people, if people are going, oh, this isn't for me, I take that as a good sign, even if class numbers are really low, because it means over time, I've said that a lot, over time your class numbers will build. All right, my darlings, I love doing those type of episodes where I answer your questions. I need to get a bit more organized and do a few more of those. So if you're on my mailing list, and I'll put a link if you're not on my mailing list that you can join, do keep an eye out, because I think I'm going to call in a few extra questions. So to conclude, if you would like to work with me, the ways that we can hang out together at present is on my mentorship program, 6 months, Prosperous Yogini mentorship program. And you can next join in April. So do add your name to the wait list. And like I said, to really seriously consider coming in. If you're thinking of more training, I want to ask you why mentorship? And then you can build a business and do as much training as you want, because you'll have a knowledge of how you can create a business around you, tap into the abundance that's available to you, and just to have that feeling of like, I can do this. So mentorship, April the 22nd, I've got in my head. You can also train with me, and it might be right that you're being called to train, and particularly if that's driven by your why. Yin yoga teacher training, you can train online on my flexible online yin training course. And then I also have my yin, human design and restorative yoga. If you listen to this podcast in time, there is a live round on Zoom starting the 24th of February. And then there is an in-person course on June in the Zen Den in Newquay, Watergate. It's going to be an incredible location. Then I have some online flexible self-paced study courses, postnatal, toddler yoga, training and CPD. So there's lots of ways we can hang out. But maybe if you're not on my mailing list, the easiest place to start is add your name to my mailing list. I'll put the link for that in the show notes. And otherwise, I will see you all next week.